All right, let's go ahead and get started. We are looking at, as you can see, the Jarrett Chapter 6, American Society inTransition. We're looking at the vocabulary terms. I believe there are 31 of them, and I think I have them on 12 separate slides. So it shouldn't take us very long. We'll probably do a couple of videos on these, maybe 3. And we'll do each video about 20 minutes or so, and go through the terms. So let us begin. Here is our first slide, and we have 5 terms on it. Let's kind of walk through them a little bit and make sure we all understand them. Let's start with the first one, of course, urbanization. The movement of people from the countryside to towns and cities. And what we're looking at is people moving to cities, whether they are Americans moving from rural areas, the South, for example, moving northward to Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, looking for jobs, or immigrants into the country who settle in these big cities looking for work. Now, most of these big cities, New York, San Francisco, Boston, Philadelphia, began to develop these small little ethnic communities, little small ethnic ghettos, occasionally as they were referred to. So as an Italian, just using an Italian for example, comes to the United States, probably, let's say, a 30 or so year old male, he leaves his wife and his kids at home in Italy, comes to America. The idea is he's going to get a job, get some money, send it home, and they'll join him. So he gets on the boat, comes across, lands in New York City, and one of the first things he'll do is try to find an area where he fits in. So he would go to Little Italy. All these big cities had these small little ethnic communities. Little Italy, Germantown, Chinatown, on and on and on. And so people would come here from other countries. They would look for people who looked like them, who spoke the same language, ate the same foods, went to the same churches. And so these little ethnic communities began to grow and grow. And though there was some other people, I mean, in Little Italy, were there Germans there or African Americans? Yes. But by and large, it was primarily Italian. Same thing in Chinatown. So the urbanization is the growth of cities, whether it be Americans migrating to big cities looking for towns or immigrants staying in these big cities looking to find jobs. Our second one, demography, is the study of population. And it goes a little bit deeper than that, but we're looking at people. For example, we break them down by ages, by gender, by religious groups, by education. And so demography, the study of the population, how it moves, how it flows, how it grows, how it changes, is useful in any number of ways. Politically speaking, for politics, you use demographics and demography to determine where you might be weak, and then therefore campaign one other area to get your message across. Businesses may use demographics in order to determine who would be best or be most interested in certain products. Okay. Cyrus McCormick, he invented the reaper. The reaper cut and bundled grain. And so now we are looking at, and we're looking at the mid-1800s at this time with McCormick, we are looking at machines who are now starting to take the place of human hands, and we are now, because of the use of these machines, the growth of these machines, the efficiency, the speed of these machines, we're able to do more with those machines than we could by hand. One of the reasons why the Civil War started was Eli Whitney's cotton gin. And the cotton gin, which separated cotton fibers from the seeds, made cotton far more profitable. And so as it became more profitable, we needed to grow more of it. And in the South, growing more cotton meant more slave labor, which meant the growth of slavery, which led to the Civil War. Now, the reaper didn't do this, but it's just another example of machines that are replacing man and doing a better job. More efficiently, quicker, cheaper, which then led to the growth of the grain industry. Okay. Municipal, city. A municipality is another word, fancy word for city. Urban area, city, municipal, municipality, city. Tenement. I showed you a video in the last chapter of some of these tenement apartments. They are single-room apartments, often without heat or lighting. They are poorly constructed. They were hastily built. They often did not have, as it states right here, they often did not have heating or lighting. If there was plumbing to bring running water into the house or for the bathrooms, the plumbing was poorly done and often did not work. So these tenement houses sprang up in all these big cities where you had the urbanization. The growth of these cities brought about a need for these tenement houses to be purchased. We had between 1870 about 1900, depending on which historian you believe, anywhere between 25 and 30 million people coming to America. That doesn't include Americans who are migrating northward looking for a place to stay and a job. So we're looking at a huge influx into our major cities. You're not going to have very many immigrants come to America who are heading to Georgia looking to farm. They're looking to find jobs in the big cities and the factories. And so as these cities grew, as their populations increased, there was a need for housing, and these tenement houses, which were hastily constructed, poorly built, using substandard materials often, seemed to fit the bill. I, as a landlord, could build a tenement house that would have, just for a number, 100 different single-room apartments. And I could probably put in close to 1,000 people. Some of these tenement apartments would have 10 or 12 people living in them. This overcrowded situation led to all kinds of problems you can well imagine. The spread of disease, the spread of many different types of pollution, noise pollution, sewage in the streets. I mean, just all kinds of problems. And so the tenement houses often led to slum-like conditions. All right, let's move forward to our next one. We can take a quick look at four of the problems with growing cities. As cities grew, we have certain problems. All right, the first one, inadequate public services. Cities lacked the ability to deliver increased public services. Now, what were some of these services that cities just were not capable of keeping up with? Again, keep in mind, some of these cities, their populations were growing by 2-3 million per decade. New York, for example. The growth in New York City was just hard to imagine. I mean, here in the Valley, we have a population of roughly 1 million, probably a little bit more by now. And it seems crowded, but it's not. If you've ever been to a big city, walking downtown, in the middle of the afternoon, it's wall-to-wall people. Okay, I'm getting off the topic here. Let's get back to this. So, inadequate public services. The cities lack the ability to keep up with the need for certain services like electricity, garbage collection, sanitation. Okay, so some of these public services, I got a list here. Hospitals, the police forces, schools, fire department, street cleaning, garbage collection. Those are just several of the public services that big cities had trouble keeping up with due to the huge numbers of people coming into the city. And that is where we see the growth of political machines. Talk about that more a little bit later on. Another problem with the growth of cities is transportation. And the period of time we're looking at, late 1800s, early 1900s, horse-drawn carriages, and electric trolleys provided transportation, but they also created noise and pollution. So here you have New York City. We'll just keep using it as an example. By 1900, there were probably several million or more people in New York City. It wasn't designed to hold that many people. And so you have these growing slums, these growing ethnic slum communities, ethnic ghettos. You have the tenement housing going up. Hold on.
This is a reminder to all staff.
I'm back. Lucky you. Okay, so horse-drawn carriages and electric trolleys provided transportation, but they created all kinds of noise and, of course, pollution. Horses walking down the street needs to go to the bathroom. It goes to the bathroom in the street. No one cleans it up, and it just lies there. And so in order to eliminate pollution, or at least a portion of it, the subway systems were installed. Now, of course, again, this is highly expensive and very time-consuming. But it was one way that cities tried to deal with some of their problems. And so if you've ever been to a big city, New York, Los Angeles, they have subway systems. And these are electric trains, essentially, underground. We, of course, do not have it here in the state. I am not aware of any city in the state that has a subway. In fact, I'm not even sure where the nearest subway would be to us. It probably would be in California or in the New England area. It's not something we do. But that's a problem. Transportation of all these people. Horses, which was the number one way to move from place to place. Problems. You have to feed it, take care of it. And, of course, on the other hand, these electric trolleys, they were dangerous. They made a lot of noise, a lot of pollution, and sometimes when of course, the electricity was down, which happened often back then, transportation was down. So these are all problems. Our next one, go to letter C, overcrowding. Families were crowded into tenements, and I think we talked about this a few moments ago. These tenements often lacked daylight, heat, fresh air, and adequate plumbing. And so you can have a family of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 living in a single apartment, husband, wife, mother and father, and their 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids. And because the tenement apartments were poorly constructed, hastily constructed using substandard materials, because not a whole lot of effort or thought was put into it, because again, why? It's cheap housing. The people who are going to live there can't afford much, so why give them much, was the attitude. The tenement housing lacked daylight. In many cases, there were no windows. In the winter, they did not have heat. If they had windows, often they would not open or open properly, so there was a lack of ventilation. And they lacked adequate plumbing. If they did have plumbing for bathrooms, more than likely it was a communal-style bathroom, one bathroom per floor. And that many people using the bathroom, the pipes and the system was just not created to handle that much, and it often broke, which of course meant toilets overflowed. People would go to the bathroom in buckets. They would then go and pour the buckets in the street, sewage in the street. It was just a mess. And of course, with all the sewage in the street, lack of adequate garbage collection, that led to all kinds of insects, rats, which of course led to the spread of diseases. And then finally, our last one here, social tensions. In cities, rich people live next door to the poor, which caused some problems. Seeing the luxuries of the wealthy often distressed poor people and increased tensions and led to crime. The poor people didn't want to live next to rich people. Rich people didn't want to live next to poor people. And what we're going to see soon are the rich people moving out of the cities into the suburbs. So there was a lot of social tension. You had this mixture of rich and poor, American citizen, new immigrant, or northerner and southerner, with a lot of different traditions and values and way of speaking and doing things all thrown together, which created all kinds of tensions between them. And oftentimes these cities were just powder kegs waiting to explode. All right. Our third slide, number 7, political machines. I mentioned that a moment ago. Political machines. These were organizations, very often they were corrupt. They were set up to provide services within the cities. Those social services that the cities could not provide because they lacked the manpower, lacked the money, lacked any other thing else they needed. Often that slack was picked up by the political machines. Yes, let's look at the next two, then I'll tie all these together. Political bosses, these are the men who ran the political machine. The most famous political boss was Boss Tweed of Tammany Hall. And I will show you, if I haven't already done so, a little video about Boss Tweed and about some of these political machines. He was from New York City, and Tweed was the boss of the best-known political machine. So the best-known political machine was called Tammany Hall, and it was run by a man known as Boss Tweed. So here you have these political machines, and pretty much every big city had one, several of them actually, and they often would take the place of the city by providing certain social services. Let's go back to our recent immigrant from Italy. He's just off the boat, doesn't know anybody, and one of the political machines has someone at the dock, waiting for people like him. And he gets off, doesn't know any English, and someone approaches him, hey, how you doing, and of course his native tongue, native language. And he's, blah, 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 and hey, you just get off, yeah, what's your name? And they strike up a conversation. You got a place to, no, I don't have a place to stay. You got a job? No, I don't. I know someone can help you. So then, this recent immigrant from Italy is taken to see whom? Boss Tweed. And so he's taken to see Boss Tweed, and Boss Tweed arranges for him to have a place to stay. Boss Tweed arranges for him to have a job. And in exchange, the recent immigrant from Italy is asked to, give up a small percentage of his paycheck, 10% maybe. Which, of course, he happily does, because why? Boss Tweed's his friend. And he gives him a job, a place to stay, promises to help him put some money together, or even maybe loan him the money to bring his family back from Italy to America. And all he wants is just, a couple of pennies per paycheck, to help a little bit. And then maybe a favor. I did you a favor, maybe you could do me a favor one day. So Boss Tweed gets this young man a job at the docks. And one day, a representative of Boss Tweed walks up to the guy and says, hey, how you doing? How do you like your job? Blah, blah, blah. I understand your family's coming over next week. Yeah, they're going to be coming over. I'm so happy, blah, blah, blah. You remember when Boss Tweed helped you get this job? Yeah, I do. It was a great day. He's a great man. He would like a favor. Yeah, oh, sure, no problem. What does he need? Does he need me to help him do this or that? What does he need? Well, tonight, while you're at work, between the hours of 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, be in the bathroom. And the guy looks at him, what are you talking about? Don't ask questions. Between 2 and 3, be in the bathroom and do not come out no matter what. Well, no. Don't ask questions. Will you do this? You do old Boss Tweed a favor. Will you do this? Yeah, sure, of course I will. So, boom. 2 o'clock in the morning, goes to the bathroom, an hour later he walks out, and the place is robbed. Calls the police show up, what happened? What'd you see? Well, I didn't see anything, why not? Well, I was in the bathroom. So, Tweed uses this guy who he got a job as a night watchman at a shipping dock or a warehouse, doesn't really matter where it is, and then the guy was told to be in the bathroom, so he couldn't see anything. The place was robbed. Or Boss Tweed, and again, we'll see some videos that cover this. Boss Tweed, who again ran a huge chunk of New York City, would get a government contract, or people who work for him would get a government contract. And let's say, for example, a painter. Boss Tweed gets a painter a job. The painter overcharges for the job. He kicks back to Boss Tweed about a third or more of what he got, because, again, he overcharged. Let's say he's going to paint a brand new government building, a brand new city hall. And so he charges $1 million. It's a lot of money, but it's a big building. So once it's all said and done, he gets his money, his $1 million. He gives a third to a half, or whatever the percentage is. Gives it to Boss Tweed. Now, is the painter going to be willing to give up $500,000 on a $1 million job? Yeah, well, of course, because without Boss Tweed, he wouldn't have gotten the job in the first place, and he still gets to keep $500,000. And so this kind of corruption, again, this is all part of the Gilded Age we're still talking about, this kind of corruption happened everywhere. So any government project, any government new government building, the paving of roads, the fire department, the police department, all these people were somewhat beholden to political machines and political bosses like at Tammany Hall and Boss Tweed. And again, we'll go into more of this a little bit later on. We're going to do 2 more real quickly, then we're going to call it a day. You know what? We're not going to do that. We're at about 20 minutes, and I told you we'd go about 20 minutes per video, so I'm going to keep my word. We're going to stop it about right now with these. These first 9. We'll come back in the next video. We'll start with number 10 and go with the push-pull factors. You see the push factor there, the pull factor is on the next page. And we'll do that with our next video. So with that happy thought in mind, we have been looking at the chapter 6, and so far we have done part 1. Yay.